a desire to do something different, if you have a thought to want to accomplish something else, if you have an idea that you want something different, or even you feel something is not right, if you struggle with something that is new, if you're having a hard time trying to do something totally different, if you find it really hard and so difficult to accomplish something that you never have done before, try and understand this. If you live a life every day, let's say for 30 days, maybe for several months, maybe even for years, if you live that way at a continuous continuous basis, eventually what will happen is you will program your life as your life, and that life is your life, and that is who you are. Anything else around that is just a mere fact of life, that you are just attending the exterior of yourself. Almost to say, you're blending yourself with anything else that is not about you at the present time. If you try to comprehend something, whatever it might be, there's no subject, there's no topic that I can think about that doesn't relate to what I'm talking about. A lot of people have a difficult time in doing something new, accomplishing something new, anything that is different other than what you are doing now, as of the last several weeks, last several months, last several years. It has been you. Anything and everything else is always going to be harder. The reason is that you're able to self-program yourself. There's a way into trying to comprehend what is next for what you want. You can begin that one thing that's new that you want to do. You can begin doing several things that is new in your life, and the harder it is, in most cases, the reason why it's harder for some, number one, for several other factors, but the number two reason is because chances are they've been living a certain life for already so long, whatever that kind of lifestyle was about. And so that new thing, even though that new thing might be similar to yours, it might be harder for them. But in most cases, since it has to do with they've been living a certain lifestyle for so long, that for them to transition into something else or into several things that are new might be even so hard, so difficult, or might not be. It depends on these other factors that play, which is environmental, people, toxicity, etc. And so the point is that once you start to comprehend the understanding that you can become what you program yourself to become, then you start to understand and realize that whatever you're trying to accomplish can and will be accomplished, because now you'll start removing or making room for your new recorded lifestyle. Okay, you start reprogramming or reprogramming further your life, your inner self, your tape recorder. Okay, as I explained on my first video, I believe it's called wellness slash reprogramming, and so that's what needs to be understood, that you can change your life by replacing what is now, or by filling in something extra in your life. It's gonna take time, and the only reason why it's so difficult for some, or the only reason why it's just difficult in general, is because you haven't done it. But aside from the point that you haven't done it, is that you haven't been living it. So if you notice that anything that has to do with what you already do, anything that has to do very similar to what you already do, is not that difficult to apply in your life. For instance, if you're a mechanic, you mostly do Hondas, trucks, and Chevrolets in mechanic work, but all of a sudden you get Cadillacs, Bentleys, and Ferraris to fix. Guess what happens? There's still a similarity to what is, and it might be a little bit difficult, but not too much. But now, what happens if you do something completely different away from the idea of mechanic work? Now it becomes really difficult, and now you need to reprogram yourself to do that new thing. Another example is if you spend your life eating raw food, and you really never really taken part of eating a specific raw food, vegan wise, let's say specific raw food vegan wise, which is non-animal based, a specific food, because you always thought of it as not being that good, and maybe once a year or something you had it, but just because. But all of a sudden you start to implement it as part of, it doesn't necessarily turn out to be a harmful thing to you, or it doesn't really turn out to be that bad for you or difficult for you, because you're still living in that zone, you're still within that harmony of what that action is. But if, for instance, you're living as a raw vegan, for instance, then you start implementing something that doesn't fit that harmonic way of living, and it's some other kind of food, all of a sudden your body, you go into a shock, into a sensation, a weird sense of feeling. Just like the mechanic, if he leaves the mechanic world, the mechanic lifestyle, all of a sudden he goes through a phase as well. Like, wow, I cannot do that, I don't know about that, that's uncomfortable, it's weird, I don't know anything about that. You don't know anything about that, and you feel uncomfortable, you feel weird, you feel sick, you're detoxing, whatever it is, because you haven't lived it yet. All you've been living is this way or that way, or this way or that way. And when you program yourself to live a certain way on a continuous basis, you become that. And so just because you try something new one day, or just because you do something else different one day, it doesn't mean you cannot do it, doesn't mean it's bad for you, doesn't mean that it's wrong for you, it doesn't mean that it's gonna make you sick, but it's what you begin to program within you as a whole. And once you begin to reprogram that concept of what you want to do, because you want to do it, because it's for you, then you start to either fill in your inner tape recorder, you, the cell, you are a cell, so you start to fill in, the core is the cell, the tape recorder is this, is the core, it's not your center, it's not your abdominal wall, okay, it's not your heart, it's not your lungs. The core is, based on my understanding, is your tape recorder, your inner part of the cell, you, the cell, and then the inner part. So you either start to program the inner, or you start to eliminate what's in, and you start completely programming a whole new you, which, and therefore, if you all of a sudden change, let's say, from a good person, and that's the life you've been living, all of a sudden you turn to a bad person for so many years, trying to go good, all of a sudden it doesn't seem right. it doesn't seem that exciting because you've been living on this bad lifestyle, right? Vice versa, if you've been living a good lifestyle for so many years, it's not that easy to all of a sudden just go back because you've been living this certain way for so long. Um, it might sound like common sense to some of you. It might not sound like it. It might sound weird or off to others or whatnot. But the point is that whatever you are doing, whatever you are conspiring to do, it might be bad. It's not saying that whatever, it might not be good for you. But up to now, for what I have understood, that a lot of things that people say that's not good for me, that's not doing right for me, that's making me feel sick, detoxing too much, is giving me this sensation, giving me that feeling, having this situation occur when I do it, or when I eat it, or when I consume it, or when I think it. A lot of times, all these different emotions and feelings, sensations, ideas, thoughts, etc., it's not because it cannot be you. It's not because it cannot be you. It's just that who you have been at a continuous pace for so long, anything else is different. It's really, it's just non-existent. It's unfamiliar. It's an alien. It's just unheard of. It doesn't connect with you because it hasn't been you. So in order for that to possibly be you, you got to give it that opportunity and take it with full gratitude, full admission that that's what you want to do because you want to do it, and love it, and become part of it as you became part of Y, and then start the X and start refilling yourself with that new thing that you really want to do. And by you really wanting to do it, you become it. And so here, let me read to you just a moment what I just finished posting on my Facebook. And maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. And let me read to you. We live among each other, but we do not seem to always be on the same task, and that's okay. For what is for one man is for that man. We cannot judge or pull on each other's direction because of dislike from what one feels from one or another, but take everything as another form of gratitude to accept or not. And if you dislike one man, thus walk away in peace, for that in which you dislike was only a message of choice, not of hate. Then the other thing that I wrote, which basically says, also has to do with what I was just saying, the value of food. And this concept can be used for different things. Doesn't necessarily mean food as food that you consume, chew. It can be used in other terms too. So the value of food, in whichever way it is to comprehend, is determined by the love we give that food. The mind will overcome what ails you if you accept the pure air, the love of the sun, the pure water, the magnetic energy, the patience for regeneration, and the tranquility of existence. We can and we will move forward. What we choose to store within our minds will become who we are. The reprogramming of our inner self is only a mere destiny in which we live in the now. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, but today, to be the healthiest possible in every way, in whichever way possible. It's important to always live in the now, take it one day at a time. Focus your attention on what you truly want, work on that, and eventually, little by little, you begin getting closer and feeling closer to that one particular thing, moment, lifestyle, whatever it is. You start to get to it a lot easier and a lot closer for that when that day comes that you really want to put full attention. It will become that much easier to do. So whenever you start, whenever you begin, it'll be a lot easier for you. The longer you wait without doing anything, expect that there's a good chance that it'll become difficult to do, maybe extremely difficult. But again, as I said in the mere beginning, doesn't mean, even though it might be bad, doesn't mean that it's good. Okay, I'm just explaining to you in most cases what feels bad, what feels wrong, what feels harmful, what feels sickening, what feels incorrect, what doesn't feel right, emotionally sensational, pleasurable, what does not feel, doesn't mean that it's something good. But in most cases that I've understood, that it's not good for them. Okay, it's just that they're not accustomed to that lifestyle, to whatever it is. So your choice, as I always say, and that's it. Thank you.